an American, it has never been a better time to move abroad and leave America than it has been today. I mean, there are just so many remote jobs that pay really well, and not to mention the crazy number of American companies that have offices abroad. But though, is it like actually worth leaving? I mean, because for a lot of people, it may not actually be worth it. And now, while I head into work, because today is an office day, I do have a couple of reasons as to why you might wanna stay exactly where you at. And now, speaking of work, the first thing I can think of just straight off the dome is financial opportunity. And look, I'm gonna be real, because no matter what anybody say, the cost of living, all that, there is a lot of money to be made in America. There's just so much money floating around there. I mean, I remember when I left Chicago and moved to Atlanta and was basically just starting over because I was moving to live with my mom, and my whole neighborhood was mostly Vietnamese and Chinese. And no joke, all of their parents came there with nothing. I mean, they worked extremely hard. They eventually opened up their own businesses, whether it's restaurants or nail salons. They were just killing it, and they made something of themselves. And again, you could do that in America, and you could do it to a level that it's like ridiculous in other countries. I mean, we are talking millionaire statuses. I mean, like multi-millions. So yeah, no matter how you slice it, man, the opportunities are there. Like, you cannot knock it no matter what's going on there. They got the monies. And like, legit, I know so many people like this. I mean, I'm like this. I'm one of those people who came from nothing and took that nothing and made it something. And it is just amazing that you can find that in America. It is there. You just gotta go find it. And now look, nobody said it was easy, but I did say it is there. And it can vary from starting a business or just working full-time in corporate America. I mean, I still work in corporate America, even though I'm living in the Netherlands, and I ain't doing that bad. Matter of fact, I was listening to an interview from a Dutch guy who's living in America, and he said, you gotta turn me up on this one, but he said that it costs more to be poor and middle class than it does to be rich. Simply put, America's where the money is, and if you have a significant amount of money, you Gucci. And so now, something to consider that's real is the fact that it's gonna be a bit lonely as well as being isolated. To be honest, this is actually something a lot of people don't think about, because they only think about moving when they're actually there visiting, versus when they move, I would say about 2 weeks in, that's when it hits you that, oh, like, I'm by myself. Which is something to always think about and remember that moving is completely different than visiting. Now, it's not all bad, it's just that you are kind of starting over. It's like it's very similar to when I moved to LA. Like, moved there, had no friends, didn't have a job. But the thing is, when you move here, you also face different challenges. Like, you got a whole language barrier. Hey, people staring today. Why everybody up in my grill today? Gee. And then not only that, but you're also facing cultural experience issues. Like, you don't know the culture. And I will say that if you are an extrovert, like I am super extroverted, so it wasn't that hard for me to kind of, like, I don't really feel lonely, especially because I also have my wife and my kids too. But I also make friends fairly quickly. Like, I could talk to anybody and I'll be good. The fact is, you are an outsider coming in, so you can feel a bit isolated and lonely. So I would highly recommend going out, meeting as many people as possible. Also, definitely go visit the place first and live amongst the locals. And I cannot stress this enough, but you gotta make an effort. The older you are, it's gonna be harder to make friends. Like, that's just everywhere you go. So you have to make an effort for real. I mean, like, for real, for real. Okay, now I need to get my booty. I gotta get my booty to work. Hop on this ferry, I'm about to miss it. All right, so there is a great saying that my friend once told me. He said, no matter where you go, there you are. And I have to say, like, this is something to keep in mind, like, wholeheartedly. So look, I have this friend, and this friend legit is like very like get out of America, like for real. And to give him credit, he has made it out. He's moved to, I believe, the UK. He also moved to Mexico. I mean, he even moved to Ukraine. But no matter where this guy went, no joke, he would have the exact same problems. It didn't matter where he went. I mean, from the lack of accountability that this guy had to all the way to his like spending habits, they all followed him, because no matter where you go, there you are. You can't escape who you are. Like, look, if you have a spending problem in America, you're most likely gonna have a spending problem if you go to Vietnam, or if you go to Thailand, or if you go to London, or if you go to Ukraine. you have a spending problem. It's not the country's fault. It's you. I mean, legit, every place this guy moved to, he went broke in. And also, every place he moved to, he always blamed other people for everything. Like, it was always someone else's fault. So look, to avoid all of that, all I'm saying is, you gotta remember, no matter where you go, there you are. You cannot run away from all your problems. I mean, especially if you have a spending problem or an entitlement problem. Like, look, you cannot run away from that stuff. And as a matter of fact, it only makes, especially Americans, it only makes us look worse. And now look, for me personally, I've never really had a hard time kind of with this, because I was raised to treat people with respect, treat people the way you want to be treated. So that way, like, for example, my grandmother taught me, when I go over to other people's houses, I should know how to act. If I'm in school, I should know how to act. I've also learned to take responsibility for my action, no matter where I am. I respect the culture. What is going on? Holy, it is raining like crazy. Where did that come from? Man, I cannot believe it's raining. Dang, it just started raining quick. And it's raining a lot too. Dang, it's raining. Man, I was gonna walk around and do like this whole next segment out in this, like in the center, but yeah, it's raining just enough to mess up the drip. Man, I'm on the wrong platform. Okay, yeah, it wasn't my fault. Everybody confused. I think this is the one that, yeah, I think this is the one I need to be on. Okay, now we are on this inner city and we are in first class. I ain't gonna stay here forever because I ain't trying to get kicked off. But since my plans got ruined and I can't do this in Amsterdam, I did want to say something else to keep in mind before you just pick up and leave America, is that the culture shock is real. And what I mean by real, I mean that it hits you in like two waves, and it hits you almost with every experience that you experience. For example, when you get the culture shock of living here and being in the culture and like experiencing everything here, great. You deal with it, but then when you go back home, you're also getting this culture shock, and you're just getting that reverse culture shock. It's just little things too. And for me, it was just, I remember seeing everyone outside and the way people were outside versus there's a huge car culture in America. And there's a huge culture of like, if you're riding your bike, you're seen poor. If you're walking, you're seen as poor. Versus in a lot of countries, it's normal and it's actually preferred. Same with biking. It just makes more sense to bike than have a car, spend all this money. And now something else that shocked me too was if the sun is out, it's like a whole nother country. Like, it is just something else. People love being out in the sun. They love taking advantage of the weather. And so now seeing how people are just going outside and just being out and about all the time, especially when it's sunny out. When I went back to the States, it hits completely different. It's like you gotta go to a place to be outside. Does that make sense? Like, that's how the States is. Like, you gotta go somewhere to be outside. Another culture shock for me was the food here. Like, the food is a lot fresher. So it kind of shook me when I see my blueberries go bad in like 4 or 5 days. Same with my bread too. Goes bad in about, I would say, maybe a week. It's going bad. Versus when I go back to the States, completely different. They pump so much stuff in their food, it's ridiculous. And that's the reverse culture shock, because that's another thing. I love going to the States. I love cooking. I love eating. Every time I go back, I get sick because they are just pumping so much stuff in this food. Okay, quick side note, ain't nobody in first class. Man, I need to buy a first class ticket because this was great. I could film the whole video in first class. Oh man, it's raining in Harlem too. You know what, something else that kind of shocked me was getting my first like piece of mail and realizing that it was all in Dutch. And that's so weird to say because I don't know why it was a culture shock for me. I mean, considering I'm living in the Netherlands. But it was just something about like trying to read this, thank goodness for Google Translate. Look man, I ain't even gonna lie. Without Google Translate, I would be so lost. Like, I remember my wife and I went to Japan. We went years ago, before the Google Translate era, and it was extremely hard to get around. Like, it took us an hour just to leave the airport. I would highly recommend not only Google Translate, but actually taking the time to learn the language. But yeah, I will say learning the language helps a lot, like for real. It is it does change the game a bit. I mean, I've witnessed this firsthand with my buddy Sam, like Sam from Exploring the Foreign. He's killing it. Like his Dutch is on point. But yeah, I can say I have known people who've moved somewhere and left because they can't handle the culture shock. Like it's just too much of a shock to them. And then something else that also helps handling the culture shocks is having an open mind. This is extremely important, especially if you're an American, because again, that entitlement level is up to 1,000. So you gotta have an open mind. Oh man, sorry I keep stopping. It just keeps raining on and off, man. So I'm trying to find hopefully it doesn't rain again before I make my point, because my point is I noticed that in America now, it's very divided and it's very like, again, the entitlement level is just ridiculous to the point where you can't, it's almost like you have the freedom of speech and freedom of opinion and stuff, but you don't have those things because people don't like you having those things. You know what I mean? So you definitely have, like, it helps so much moving abroad to have an open mind. Just, I mean, it helps also just being where you are, having an open mind about your neighbors or your friends or whatever. Like, you gotta have an open mind. And again, respect people and treat people the way you would want to be treated. Like, I mean, that's like a golden rule. I don't know where we forgot that. Like, as Americans, I don't know how we forgot that. Treat people the way you want to be treated. And now I'm gonna try to head on out and go back to work before it starts raining. I think we can. Oh, it's kind of dark, aren't we? Are we kind of dark? Try to get back to work, man. But let me know what you guys. Let me know what you guys think about what I said. Because yeah, although it's easier than ever to like move and live abroad, you gotta be cautious, man. And it's not even. I'm not even talking about safety reasons. I'm just talking. You just gotta be cautious in the decision you're making and don't go with blinders on your face, if you know what I mean. Because man, there is nothing worse than moving with the intention of staying forever and then moving back in like a month because it didn't work out for you and it's all like personal reasons. That would suck. All right, let's get back to work. Thank you. Thanks. I'll see you later. All right, second cup of coffee for today. And you know what? I think I'm gonna leave you guys with this. Before I get back to work, I'm gonna go ahead and do work in here today. I think this place is called Yeti. It's pretty good. This is my first time having coffee there, so I'll let y'all know how that is in the next video. Actually, no, actually the coffee's pretty good too as well. But you know what? I just want to leave you guys with this because I didn't want this to be a negative video. So I'm gonna leave you guys with this. If you do have the desire to move abroad or live somewhere different, like not necessarily in the Netherlands, but if you do have the desire to live abroad, you definitely try to do it. Like, try to go for it, but just have an open mind. Like, for real, I'm just being dead serious. Leave all the American entitlement in America. Actually, you should just get rid of it completely because it ain't doing nobody any good. I'm just super saying. But if living abroad is something you want to do, I highly recommend it. It was probably the best decision I ever made. I had my own personal reasons why I came, like, because I love America. But I just wasn't, I felt like I did a lot already in America and it was just time to move on. Plus, the quality of life is better for me and my family. But this is completely different for everybody else because people can come here and just not like it. All right, but that is it. I got to get my booty back to work. I'm going to have my coffee, get back to work. I hope you guys enjoyed it because I enjoyed making it. I will see you in the next one. And don't forget, it ain't over until we win. I'll catch you guys in the next one.